over when COVID hit, that really pushed my entrepreneurship. Like, it made me realize that anything could happen at any time.
It's very unique. You change kind of your message to gear it towards the collection for that time, but you're still not changing the message of the overall brand. And I think that's really smart. What is the biggest myth? Because clothing brand is going crazy. What is the biggest myth you've heard some of these clothing brand gurus say on the internet?
I would probably, for me personally, I would say the pre-order method.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, the podcast where we uncover the blueprint to success from people of all walks of life. Today, we are uncovering the blueprint for apparel. Today's guest is Jaedyn Duncan. He is the owner of Goat Tees Apparel, and he is also a business administration major at Mississippi State University. Goat Tees Apparel is all about making sure you have faith in God and making sure that you know that nothing can be done without God. So, Jaedyn, thank you for being here today. I'm really excited for this episode. Really excited to have a conversation with you.
I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. So, on the mission of Goat Tees Apparel, on the message, can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, so I started Goat Tees when I was like 14, 15, my freshman year of high school, and I started it in hopes to like push just self-confidence. And over the years, I've been able to push different messages out, whether it's mental health, whether it's relating to religious, whether it's just related to anything, just pushing out positivity or trying to imply whatever I may be going through during that time in my life, and just implying that to my talents and also to be able to help somebody potentially.
Okay. So when you say you first started Goat Tees Apparel when you were 14, how did it look then? Because now clothing brand is like idolized. Like, okay, you want to start a business, start a clothing brand. So how did you navigate it back then where it might not have been such popular as it is now?
So back then, it started off like I was doing YouTube, not as far as like blogging, but just like graphic design stuff. I was doing like lyric videos. I was doing a lot of work with music artists and stuff, and I was able to make a lot of profit from that. And I knew that at some point it was probably gonna get cut just because of copyright reasons or whatever. So I knew that I needed to start working on a plan B. So I said I'm gonna step into clothing just because I've always kind of had like a passion for fashion, and then the GOAT slang was just kind of coming out around that time, and I just kind of based it off of me being like a big LeBron fan. So at first it kind of started out kind of like sports related, and then I kind of just found my way to whatever I was navigating. And right now I'm pushing more so towards Christian drops, but I'm not necessarily a Christian brand. But being able to incorporate God in my brand, I think is very important.
Okay. You mentioned that you kind of change as you change. Most clothing brands try to stay on the track of like one thing. How would you say that's helped or like hindered you in pursuing and building your clothing brand up?
I feel like with that, I just try to stay true to myself within anything I do, especially within my brand. And I'm a type of person, like, I'm able to do a lot of stuff, whether it's graphic design and clothing, just anything of that realm. So I've been able to navigate my brand into a fitness brand. I've been able to do an ebook out of that. So it's like multiple different companies within my brand, but all still being one brand. I'm also branding myself under that, and I'm also like working on a cologne, but it'll all be under Goat Tees, and then it'll kind of be able to branch off into its own stuff. But right now I'm just navigating and kind of figuring out and just testing out and seeing kind of what hits and what I'm able to execute the best.
Okay, that makes sense. So taking it back to when you were in high school, you were doing the lyric videos. What initially made you decide that you wanted to do a clothing brand? And then how did you execute that in the beginning?
So at first, the lyric videos, it wasn't really a passion. I remember my first day of band camp, we had like a break, and then it was a song that came out. I can't remember the artist, but I just made a lyric video just being bored, and then I posted it on YouTube, and it got 1,000 views. And then back then, I just thought that was something. So then I started kind of doing it in my free time. I wasn't really telling nobody, but then it'll go from like 10,000 views to 100,000 views. And eventually that channel got to like 100,000 subscribers, and I was getting like monetized. So I just knew that eventually the monetization was going to start getting a little strict and it was going to cut off, which it did. So I'm glad that at that time I had some sort of sense to investing in something. And I did make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, like as far as investing, I definitely spent too much money on my products at first. I wasn't really pushing it because like I was real shy. Like I wasn't even really promoting my YouTube channel. It just was just doing what it was doing. So I think coming to college really inspired me to start pushing my brand a little bit more, and also the bills, like all the
Right.
stuff that I'm having to pay for in college. Like I gotta push it
It's
because that's
not
how I'm
cheap.
making my money.
It's not cheap at all. So, when coming to college, how did that help you evolve the brand? And you said before you got to college you were shy, and you didn't really push it out there. Did you, when you first got here, did you come here with the intentions of like, hey, I'm gonna get my brand out there because nobody knows me. I'm moving here. I'm gonna push it out no matter what nobody think, or were you kind of just like, hey, your friends was kind of like, hey, you need to kind of like do this so you can make some money.
I definitely, when I came to college, I feel like it was a new start. Like I had just cut off my hair. I feel like it was just a new beginning. I came here, I was meeting a lot of people, different people networking, different people with brands, podcasts, whatever. So just being around people who had stuff going on versus in my high school at that time. Not to say I was the only one, but it wasn't really nobody thinking about starting a business at that time too, like confide in or have those days where you're not making no sales or something. Versus now, I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs, so like being around that is normal to me, and it actually like motivates me.
Right. So, with you being in high school, starting your clothing brand, how were you able to start? I know in what you sent me in your intro, you started with a heat press and vinyl, but past that, being in high school, how were you able to get like manufactured products?
So in high school, I started off doing orders through Custom Ink, which Custom Ink is not like a platform for a clothing brand. It's
Right.
more so like family reunion shirts, birthdays. But at that time, I just was like, I didn't have no knowledge on it because I didn't do no research. So I went on there, I spent maybe like 500, 600, and it just was a bunch of shirts that wasn't selling because for one, I wasn't pushing it, and for two, like I didn't post it to get that customer interaction to see, okay, maybe do people even want this design? It just was a design that I thought was hard.
Right.
I put it on a shirt, bunch of different colors. It was just sitting in my closet collecting dust because, like I said, I wasn't pushing it out. I was too shy. A couple people knew about it. Like my family was buying because probably because they just was proud of me. But like it didn't have like that business aspect for
Right,
real.
right. I definitely feel that I've started probably 3 brands, and I would say people say start with that first. I swear, clothing brands are the hardest business model to start with. Absolutely so, because you have to have so much more capital to even get a head start on everybody else.
And I also, before I did custom ink, I did buy a heat press machine, and like I did do like little birthday shirts, whatever. And I was making a little side money from that. So I guess that kind of inspired me to start a brand. And within that, I just wasn't really happy with the quality. So I guess that's why I ran a custom ink with that.
Right. Okay, so with you changing from being in high school, coming to college, changing the whole brand aspect, what was the mindset shift that you had to go through to go from like, hey, we're gonna order custom ink shirts to hey, we're gonna do it this way, the correct way, or a way that suits me better?
I think over when COVID hit, that really pushed my entrepreneurship. Like it made me realize that anything could happen at any time, and then just seeing like a lot of businesses did thrive over COVID. Like my business grew a lot over COVID because I started tapping into pop-up shops. My cousin actually let me do my first pop-up shop, Splurge Clothing, just to shout her out. She let me sell at her booth, and I made a couple sales, and that motivated me to start signing up for pop-up shops. And once I did that, I was able to see like how to operate a business. Like my first one, I didn't have business cards, and then somebody couldn't buy nothing but they asked for a business card, and then I just missed out on that whole interaction. So I took that mistake and I knew how to apply it to like the more I kept doing it. So I did maybe like 4 more that year, and it was all during COVID. So like we in there masked up. I was doing most of them by myself versus now I have people who like will volunteer to help me.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about these pop up shops, because a lot of people, young people, they see, oh, put it on TikTok, put it on Instagram, do this, you guaranteed to get sales. However, that is not the case.
Yeah.
For most people, they just get lucky. They just have a winning product right out the gate. They post that thing and get 100,000 followers. Other people, you have to build it up. So let's talk about this pop up shop, Jim, because a lot of people don't see that as an opportunity, and you can make literally maybe 1,000 plus more a month just from pop up shops. So can you say how to get involved in pop up shops, what you need when you're at a pop up shop, stuff like that?
I feel like just staying on top of clothing brands or whatever in your area, just searching it up on Instagram. Like one thing I would say, most of the opportunities that I've been able to have, I've actually went out and tried to find it for myself. And like it sounds so cliche, but like not being able to take no for an answer and like keep trying. Like if somebody turn you down, it's somebody somewhere else. Like
Right.
you may have to drive 30, 40 minutes to go to a different city because 9 times out of 10, the people that don't know you will support you more than the people that do know you. So just getting involved with people in other areas and stuff. And as far as like what you would need for a pop-up shop, like I said, make sure you have business cards so you can push yourself out there, know how to promote yourself. Make sure you have a decent setup. You don't have to have a lot of stuff, but just make sure your table is neat. Make sure you have some people who will actually help you work and not just, there to hang out, but will actually, like for me, I'm not that interactive, but I'm very business savvy. But my fitness business partner, he's very good at negotiating and selling with people. So just knowing who to have with you in situations like that.
Okay, so with you doing pop up shops and you kind of shifting the business, how did you decide exactly what products you wanted to start with? Because I know a lot of people think that t-shirts are the easiest brand to start with. A lot of people start with hats. A lot of people start with socks. So how did you kind of navigate what products you wanted to do at first?
I feel like, well, at first I kind of was just trying, like I said, just putting out stuff, whatever sells, see whatever sells, whatever hits. But that's not always a good mentality to
Right.
put into it because you do want your stuff to sell. Like you don't want you don't want your closet to be crowded up with stuff that's not selling. So what I've been trying to do lately is like think of my brand as a what I want to buy. Like if
Right.
I'm into beanies right now, I'm gonna put out some beanies, or if I'm into camo right now, which is what I've been tapping into a lot lately. That's what I've been putting out with my brand because it's stuff that I actually have an eye for and I actually would buy for myself.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of people try to, say, kind of make it complicated.
Yeah,
Hey, nobody wants to buy a beanie right now. It's springtime. I'm the type of person I'll put on a hoodie and sweatpants
yeah,
in 100-degree weather.
yeah,
Sell them hoodies and them sweatpants. So a lot of people, I think, overthink it
yeah,
to where they kind of make themselves stagnant
yeah,
because they want to be a certain way or look like Capri or something
yeah.
something like that. So I think that's interesting to do. What made you land on the name Goat Tees? I know you said at that time it was like kind of, about, LeBron and everybody thinking he was the GOAT at the time.
Yeah.
So were you like heavily influenced at first by sports, or did you kind of just do it, you just kind of.
Based off, I basically just kept it simple. Like I based it based off of the slogan GOAT, which is like greatest of all time. And then with that, I was pushing greatness, like in all, not just the slogan GOAT, but just pushing to let people know that you can be great, whether if you're shy, whether, you have something within you, like God has a purpose for everybody, whether you may not know that right now, but just pushing everybody to know that it's something in you that you have greatness, like pushing self-confidence. I think that was the main thing I was going for. And then if I'm being honest, sometimes I kind of regret the name Goat Tees. Like I wish I probably would have just had it one syllable, but I'm able to rebrand it into Goat Tees Apparel or just GTAPL, just as far as like my profile or just anything. So I'm able to constantly add other extensions to it as well. So it's not just Goat Tees, like it's other stuff people can remember me by. Also by like collections I put out, like the most recent one, Nothing Without God. Like it's pushed as a brand, but it's still Goat Tees.
Right. Okay. I think that's very smart to do, actually. I haven't seen that before, which is very unique. You change kind of your message to gear it towards the collection for that time, but you're still not changing the message of the overall brand. And I think that's really smart. I think that's something that a lot of people, I don't think I've seen anybody do. So I think that's really smart. That's a play. That's a play for real.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so what do you feel like the key stages were for setting up your brand, and what lessons did that teach you as you kind of evolved in school? I know last episode we talked about the e-center. How did that help you evolve? Or how did you evolve without using the e-center?
So I would say, like I said, in COVID, I had a lot of time to just sit down and not do nothing. I think everybody did, but during that time, I was able to buy an ebook. I was able to read it and just learn and take other courses while we weren't really doing nothing. So just looking into it, it was a lot of stuff that I assumed that I did know and I didn't know. And it was also like once I seen it, I was like, okay, now that I know this and I know like the things that I can apply to this, I was able to put out my own ebook and kind of just explain how I got started for people on a more leveled perspective, just so they can see, like, for somebody that goes to school with me, I feel like if they were to get my book, it'll be more relatable than somebody who's making millions, because it's more close to wherever they are within that level. So, and as far as the E Center, I connected with them pretty much soon as I got here, because it's a program that gives you money for your business, and it's a grant, like it's not a loan, so you don't have to pay it back. So I definitely was seeing them on social media, and I tapped in with them, and I've been able to get a couple thousand from them. And even like most recently, I have a office space in there, so it's definitely been a blessing in disguise.
Okay. So with you, being in the house during COVID and stuff like that, and then evolving to post COVID, because like you said, a lot of businesses were blowing up during the COVID time. Evolving to post COVID, what are some things you implemented to make sure you're kind of staying with the trends but still doing your own thing, kind of keeping up with how the clothing brand industry is evolving in today's time?
I feel like with clothing and then fashion, it's always so up and down. So like when COVID was kind of ending, people were kind of coming outside. Like business was kind of getting a little bit slower, and then I was coming to college, so it was definitely a little slow blockage within my business within that time. But the more and more I just started making natural connections with people, like I try not to make that the first thing when I'm talking to somebody.
Right.
Like introducing my brand, I try to just let them get to know me for me, and then like that's just more of like an accessory, and then that makes them want to shop even more most of the case. So I think that was the approach I was taking when I first came to school, and it kind of just worked out in my favor. Like a lot of the people I was able to connect with.
Okay. With evolving, well, not so evolving, but just in the clothing brand aspect in general, what are some tools you use that you think really helped you to get it off the ground and continue to move on to elevate your clothing brand?
Most recently, just staying on top of social media trends. Just watching TikTok honestly helps me a lot. Just seeing new trends that are coming, hopping on them as soon as I see them, or saving a sound, or even at 3 a.m. if I get an idea, just go in my notes, type it. Like I know a lot of people that I can work with, so it might be somebody that I have in mind for that vision. I'll type it in my notes, and then I'll kind of have backup plans just in case it doesn't fall through. So just being able to go with my first thought, I think is what's been helping me a lot.
Okay, a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel, is a key aspect in why you're able to have a brand, but also gear the message towards different things. Because not a lot of people, just take their personality and put it out there in a business form. A lot of people are like, hey, this is the numbers. I got to crunch the numbers. I got to do this. I got to do that. Make sure that when I put it on the shelves, it sells.
And I've not to interrupt you, I've kind of had that perspective too. Like even when I was putting out my Christian stuff, like I was kind of like, dang, I don't want people to be judgmental of it, because like I was just putting out rapper tees. But like I feel like in a sense, like that was kind of the devil trying to discourage me from doing that, because like by putting that out, I'm actually pushing out a great message, and like it actually did pretty well, which that wasn't the intention for doing that, but I feel like that was just a reward and pushing out whatever I was feeling at that time.
Right. I think that's a good example, because a lot of times people feel like, oh, I can't change this, I can't change that, because people gonna say this or say that. I feel like that's what keeps a lot of like smaller clothing brands stagnant, because they're worried about, if I change it, somebody's gonna be like, oh, that's not on brand, or that's not this, or that's not that. And in pertaining to like a Christian clothing brand and stuff like that, you never know how God works on people. So just because like somebody was putting out rapper tees this day and then sold a Christian hat this day, that doesn't mean they're any less Christian. That just means, hey, they still got a little work to do.
And it's authentic. Like I'm not hiding nothing. Like I'm showing you, like real. I'm still, you know what I'm saying. God is still working on me on a daily basis.
And that's what people like to see these days. Nobody wants to see the holier than thou person.
Yeah, looking down on anybody.
Right. For sure.
I kind of try to provide that perspective of, it's somebody else on your level that's still working towards like getting closer to Christ. And I think that incorporating that in my brand has been helping me a lot too, because like I went through a season where I just like I was working on getting closer to God, but it just some stuff wasn't helping, so I seen something that was like apply your talents, like and
Right.
incorporate God within it, and I think that's what's been helping me a lot lately.
Right. That's a good aspect of. I like how you function your brand. I'm gonna just say that again, cause like you don't see that even in like bigger brands. I mentioned to you before we started recording. I went to the Atlanta Streetwear Market. You don't see them veering too far away from what the original message of their brand is. However, you've found a way to do that, but still stay on message. I feel like that's crazy. That is blowing my mind right now. I can't lie.
I
Can't lie.
appreciate that.
Okay, so with you, you say you implement your personality into everything that you do. How do you differ? What's something that'll stick or something that you just feel for that time, and then instead of you putting out something that's just a feeling, you putting out the whole aura of the character of that thing.
So what I try to do with my drops, like I usually don't restock unless it's something that just hits.
Right.
But I try to just keep staying on to dropping new stuff because I do base my drops a lot on me, like
Right.
whatever I'm feeling. And most of the time when I'm dropping it, I'm already on the next stuff just because like I've kind of put that out months ago. I waited on like the vendors to ship it and all that. Like I'm kind of like probably 2 drops ahead. So I try to stay forward, especially within fashion, because like something that I drop, by the time I restock it, it might not be on it, and then it's that inventory sitting. And a lot of this stuff, like I'm just now learning. Like
Right.
it took years. Like it took me to do the 6, 7 years to just sit and learn. I think with any brand, like you have to have patience, because like in the first couple of years, even now, like it's still the figuring out progress. So
Right.
like once I get to that statement of like being a brand, then I will focus on like constantly restocking and just. But right now I'm just focused on building the brand, I guess. So like if I just had like a high request to restock something, I would, but I try to keep it at like a
Right.
members only type feel.
Okay, I got you. Exclusivity. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Okay. So with you doing it that way, do you outsource your graphic design and all of that, or do you kind of try to do it yourself?
So when I first started out in high school, I didn't have a lot of free time because like I was doing band and extracurricular activities, but I did have a lot of more free time than I do in college. So I was doing my stuff by myself, and then when I got here, I was doing it a little bit, but then I started tapping into Fiverr and then tapping into other graphic designers, and I learned that through ebooks, just learning easier ways to put your pride to the side and then let somebody else do it.
Right.
Because it definitely took a lot of weight off of my back, and it was a lot cheaper actually just having to let somebody do it, and then I could focus on working on the next thing. So lately I've been working with graphic designers, but sometimes I will put my own spin on it. So yeah, just being able to collaborate and kind of meet in the middle. So
Right.
I do kind of 50-50.
Okay, that's understandable. A lot of people, say outsource everything. That's not always a good thing to do. That's not.
Yeah.
So looking back, over the years, starting in high school, what would you have done differently to maybe not spend as much money out front, wasting money on stuff that you thought was like a waste of time, or like softwares you would use that if they were available then, you would have been up 10 bands right now or something like that.
If I were to pick one thing, it would be that first custom ink order I did because it just was ridiculous. Like it just was a bunch of shirts with a bunch of different colors. But if I'm being quite honest, I probably wouldn't change nothing because just like the more and more I look back at it, like it was so perfect timing. Like in high school, I wasn't ready for where the brand is.
Right.
Like now in college, I wouldn't have been able to handle that. So like even now where I feel discouraged, like where I feel like my brand should be more successful, I kind of look at it from an aspect of like I might not be ready for that right now. So just looking at a aspect of like God's time, and I think is kind of what helps me. But if I could pick one thing, it would probably be that order and just doing a little bit more research before getting started instead of just jumping into it.
Okay. So you mentioned just now that you didn't do a lot of research starting out. What if you were starting today? What would you pay attention to in terms of research, and like what are some key topics that you'll hone in on to make sure you're doing what you're doing now?
Um, I definitely would say niche. Like I think that's the most important thing with clothing brand. Knowing what people would want, and I
Mm-hmm.
think once you know your niche, like that comes pretty easy. But actually knowing what people do want before you go buy that product, just so it's not a waste of money. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, so knowing your niche and knowing what to actually put out and what actually will sell, because you want to be a business that makes profit. Like you don't
Right.
want to just be selling and making what you made back. So I think it took me a little minute to get to where I was making profit, but I once I started to figure out what people actually wanted and like the types of
Mm-hmm.
designs they might want, because like some people they don't want your logo blasted like real big,
Right.
and like at first I just like I would take offense to that, but like
Right.
now I'm starting to look at it from more of a business aspect
Mm-hmm.
and like just make the logo smaller and then it's selling faster. Like
Right.
it's just business, like it's not personal, and you
Okay.
got to have like that mindset within it.
Definitely. I like how you mentioned that, everything doesn't happen real fast, because I feel like in today's society with TikTok, social media, YouTube, all that good stuff, it's a good tool. However, most times you can look at it and be like, dang, man, dang, she 21, she got a Lamborghini, she got the penthouse, she got everything. I'm 21 and I got $20 in my bank account.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like hard sometimes to see where God is taking you. And I feel like as young people, a lot of times that's where we get lost. We feel like, oh, I'm not as good as everybody else. However, I think about stuff like maybe I wouldn't have been able to handle that amount of money at that time. Maybe I would have just blew it off and then I got less than $20 in my bank account right now.
because even like now, like I drive like a 2009 like box Chevy, and
Yeah.
then like sometimes
Yeah.
that like I get very discouraged. Like dang, like I need a new whip. Like I want it now,
Yeah.
but like I was listening to music one day and then I heard Kanye West say I was thinking out the box, even in a box Chevy, and then like now he worth 2 billion. Like it just
Right.
might not be that time for that car I want right now.
Right.
Like I'm just in college building right now. Like my car getting me where I need to go. So.
Exactly. That's the same with me. My car my car has no bumper.
Yeah, that's real.
I
My car got duct tape. I ain't gonna lie. My car got
I
duct
absolutely
tape.
have no back bumper.
Yeah.
Straight grill on the back.
Yeah, and I'm just saying this to be real, like to show people like it's people going through
Right.
the same stuff that you going through, like, and that was another reason. Like, I like to travel a lot, but it was getting to a point where I felt like I had to slow down on posting it because
Right.
I didn't want to
Right.
get to a point to where people was just thinking that I just had it like that. Because
Right.
like I do want to be relatable and let people know that like I'm still getting it out the mud. Like it's okay to treat yourself every now and
Right.
then, but like
Right.
I'm still getting it out the mud. I'm building like brands. Like I'm investing for later. Like I don't have it all right now. Like I'm
Right.
building.
One thing I'm going to talk about now, since we shifted a little bit, is mindset. Because in Georgia, I was doing a co-op in Georgia. The whole clothing brand scene in Georgia is crazy. However, I was making more money at that co-op than I've ever made in my entire life. And so I'm sitting here, I'm buying expensive dinners, da 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 da, not thinking, you're not saved, but not thinking, oh, when I come back to Mississippi, it's gonna punch me in the face. I got back here and I'm like, I'm making $200 a week.
Yeah.
Somebody help me. And so I want to talk about how like doing that, having a mindset in college, having a clothing brand, the business mindset, the personal mindset. How does that shift as you shift in life?
It definitely gets hard, but I think it's just something that I'm taking one day at a time. Like I've definitely been in instances where I've had like to lose friendships over it just because like it's not that understanding of my schedule or just anything of that realm. So just being able to take life's challenges is something that I've tried lately to be more acceptive to, and just look at it from a perspective of like everything was already planned out. Like I'm just kind of going through it. Like I haven't experienced nothing yet.
Right.
And like today, like we can't get today back. So just try not to dwell on stuff too much. I think has helped a lot.
And how has that mindset helped you to evolve the brand throughout college?
I feel like it's been able to introduce me to more people and like be able to reach more people and have that source of like somebody telling a friend about you and them telling somebody else, and like
Right.
it kind of being like a snowball effect, and then also kind of pushing myself as a brand, like I said earlier, whether that's just me dropping on Instagram, but taking it more seriously and
Right.
collaborating with brands, collaborating with photographers and stuff like that, pushing so people can know me from multiple different aspects instead of just a brand. Like I try to be very involved on campus, whether it's through BSA, whatever, fashion board. Like it's people that know me from different realms. So
Right.
like it might be somebody watching this right now that like didn't even know I had a clothing brand. So
Right.
like it's just good to have like to be able to wear different hats.
Exactly. That I think that's a powerful tool too. And like you mentioned, um, use your relationships. You know, a lot of different relationships are for a lot of different reasons. I won't, mix my engineering friends with my, friends I made in Atlanta because that's not
Yeah.
gonna mix well. So you have to be able to be diverse, but still use your relationships to your advantage. I think that's really
Yeah.
important. If you were talking to ninth grade Dev right now, and ninth grade Dev came to you and said, hey Dev, me older Dev, I want to start a clothing brand right now, in 2025, right now this day, January what's today? January 27th. What would you tell him to do?
I would make sure that I did it because like I don't know where exactly I would be like without it because it's definitely something that is my peace at times. Like it's just something that I always can go to. Like if I'm bored, if I'm feeling down, if I'm happy, whatever, like I can go to my brand. I can push out more stuff because just as much as I'm working on me, like I'm working on my brand. Like I try to look at it within the same realm. Like, and I might not make that as obvious within my brand, but that's my mindset as far as like when I'm pushing stuff out.
Okay, and um, I lost my question. Hold on, let me find it. So with that, what would you say are three key things that you learned throughout the process that you may continue to do, or you would, recommend somebody else to do, or anything like that?
I would say definitely invest in resources. Like if you can get an ebook, it's free ones out there. If you are at Mississippi State, make sure you go to the East Center, get that money. Like it's basically free money. Like it's a grant that you can get for your business. It's hard as a college student just trying to work, pay bills in
Yeah,
general,
trying to
get
raw dog it.
food.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
crazy.
so just take advantage of your resources. Surround yourself with people who will pour into you and be sure that those relationships like you're also pouring into and you're not just
Right.
getting some from. So just being genuine with people and the relationship that you build. Don't be afraid to reach out. Like all the people that I've been able to connect with, I probably started off with a DM. Like I have no problem DMing somebody that's famous, like just seeing if they'll respond, because I've actually had people to respond and like I've built connections with people and I've had stuff that's in motion. Like so just reach out, don't be shy. I
Okay.
think that was one of my biggest things in the beginning, just being too shy. And I'm still a little shy. I have anxiety at times, but
Right.
it was at a point to where I wasn't pushing it at all. And I feel like when you're doing that, you won't get nowhere. Like nobody will push you more than you will.
Right.
Like I can post your podcast all day, but like nobody is gonna push it more than you
Right.
will. Like because it's yours. Like that's your vision. So I think that's the main thing. Like being able to push yourself.
Right. Have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of times, as people, human beings, we get self conscious. People saying, oh, nobody's going to want to hear me talk. Nobody's going to want to hear this. Nobody's going to hear that. I mean, but at the same time, it's entertainers in this world that sit on, YouTube and like do mukbangs. You just
Yeah.
eat, so
And
it's
then like even like if you think of your favorite celebrities, like you always go back and watch their old stuff and like see where they started at. Like this might be the part where people are looking at for motivation of like,
Right.
dang, that's where they started at versus where they at now. So I think
Exactly.
just being able to document your process, even if it's just for you to look back at, because like some of my YouTube videos that didn't have that many views, like I still go back and look like, dang, like I could have did so much better
Right.
now versus what I was doing then.
Right. Okay. And let's kind of do the business aspect of it a little bit. With the business aspect of it, what would you say you had to learn the hard way in like getting it to run as actual business?
The thing I kind of mentioned earlier, I guess, like not taking offense to people's opinion, especially within the designs, because like I'm the type of person when I first started, like I probably would have put my logo as big as I could everywhere as many times as I could, but just knowing proper branding and knowing like your logo might need to be on the shirt only one time. So
Right.
just knowing when and where to do things. So just knowing what products and what seasons to push. But like you said earlier, like you can put out hoodies in the summer and it still could sell.
Right.
You just have to know your niche. You have to know your audience. So
Right.
that's one of the biggest things, like knowing who you're pushing out to and what you are, and just being also knowing how to negotiate within a budget. Because when you're talking to your manufacturers, like they gonna know if you don't know what you're doing or not. Like some
Right.
of them might try to get off on you, but if you do your research and you invest in those resources like ebooks that tell you how to talk to manufacturers and stuff, like it makes the process so much easier.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
putting your pride to the side, I think that's the biggest thing.
Definitely. So I know I've done the clothing brand thing. Hey, it's not for everybody. I would say I'm going more of the traditional, business route now. But it taught me some things like just having conversations, genuine conversations. Kind of push a lot, and like knowing your audience is part of having those genuine conversations. Like just talking to your audience on social media, like, hey, y'all like this or y'all don't like this.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that for sure. And so I think this will be my last question for tonight. What is the biggest myth? Because clothing brand is going crazy. What is the biggest myth you've heard some of these clothing brand gurus say on the internet?
I would probably, for me personally, I would say the pre-order method. Like, I don't really do that for real. Like, if I do pre-orders, I don't shut my website down. Like, I've tried it a couple times. I did gain a little bit of email subscribers, and I'm not knocking it, but just as far as like pushing the fact that that's mandatory, it's not mandatory, but it can be helpful. But for me, I've kind of always tried to do the opposite, I think.
Right.
And like, all of my drops have just been regular through the website, because like when you look at brands like Fashion Nova or whatever, like when they drop new stuff, they not shutting the website down.
Right.
Like they keeping it up all the time. So like just being able to take a different perspective at things, I think that's what it is. But as far as myths, I'm not sure, but I haven't really done the pre-order method.
Facts. I think pre-order method is kind of played out now too, just because people are not honest, and it's crazy because back then even with drop shipping, somebody will order it, it might take a little while, but they know they're gonna get it. Now it's kind of like, oh, even if this is drop shipping or a pre-order, I might not get this till 6 months down the line. That's too much time, and so a lot of people will have lost trust in starting businesses because of that, because sometimes people don't even give it to them. Sometimes it takes forever. So I think that's definitely something that's played out. I don't see it, resurfacing or nothing like that. With the pre-order method though, it doesn't require much capital. I know I said that was gonna be my last question, but when you mentioned that, it brought another question to my mind. So how you started in high school, so before you even got to college. So scratch the whole E-Center situation. How did you come up with the capital to even do? I know you said you have YouTube, but did you have anything else that you were doing outside of that to come up with the capital to spend that $600 on those t-shirts?
Nah, it was just YouTube. It was a couple thousand, and I spent all that money like on the first order, and I didn't spend none of it on packaging. I didn't spend none of it on business cards, none of that type branding stuff. It just was shirts, no bags, nothing. So like, it was a lot of stuff that I learned through the way. So like, that at that time it wasn't helping me, but later on it led me to be able to put out an ebook and say what I did do wrong, and like what to do. So I think taking the route of like doing it my way, like at that time it didn't help me, but in the long run it kind of, I feel like I took the path of telling people like, don't take this path.
Right.
And also like, if I did find another route on this path that worked, like, okay, you can go this way, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So just taking that perspective.
Okay. And so, okay, this is actually gonna be my last question.
Oh, you good.
What would be the biggest thing you say you did to evolve into the person that you are today?
I would definitely say coming to Mississippi State and just put myself out there and just not being too closed in, like allowing people to be more into me and who I am, and incorporating that within my brand. Cause like at first the designs was just goatees, like it was nothing else. It was like a goat and it said goatees.
Right.
And then I started getting more personal with the drops, like mental health, protect your mental health, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I started pushing out direct messages. So just being able to be open, I
Right.
think is the biggest thing.
Okay. Well, Delph, I appreciate you for coming today. I really enjoyed talking to you, learning about your
Appreciate you having
brand,
me.
learning about your journey. Like I said, it blows my mind how you can stay on brand but diversify it. I have never seen that done effectively before, and I feel like that's something you're doing. I feel like that's something that's gonna take you a long way. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on podcasting, please leave a 5-star rating. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I'm here for y'all. I'm bringing you entertainment. I'm doing interviews from people that you want to see. Well, not really that you want to see, but you gonna want to see them. Trust me. So until next time, that's it for today's episode.